I teach first aid classes, and they usually run from about 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, I always aim to conclude the class promptly at 4 o'clock to allow sufficient time for students to complete their exams and to avoid staying late. To ensure the class stays on track, I follow a predetermined schedule that allocates specific amounts of time for each topic. I keep a written plan detailing the time allotted for each section so I can monitor our progress and ensure we stay on schedule. On one particular day, I realized that we were ahead of schedule throughout the entire day, which gave me extra time for exam review with the students. By 3:30, I anticipated having a good half hour for review before the exam. However, when I announced the start of the exam review, the class informed me that it was actually 4:30 and they requested to proceed directly to the exam. I was confused. It was 4:30? It should have been 3:30. I somehow lost track of an entire hour. I checked multiple timekeeping devices like the classroom clock, my wristwatch, and my phone, all of which confirmed that it was indeed 4:30. This left me feeling unsettled, but I maintained my composure and proceeded to distribute the exams. As someone who has taught these classes for 5 years and has honed my scheduling skills, this experience was unprecedented. I typically avoid deviating from the planned curriculum to prevent time overruns. The sudden loss of an hour without any apparent explanation has left me wondering if it was a glitch in the Matrix or some other inexplicable occurrence. This incident occurred a few years ago during my first year in college. I lived in a suite-style dorm, consisting of 2 dorm rooms connected by a shared bathroom. While my suite mates in the other room were lax about locking the door to the hallway, I always made sure my room's door to the bathroom was locked to prevent unauthorized entry. One day, upon returning from class, I entered my room just as someone was entering the bathroom and shutting the door behind them. My roommate, who shared the bedroom with me, was attending class at the time, and my 2 suite mates were also out. Reacting swiftly, I closed my door, rushed through the hallway to my suite mate's door, and opened it. This action took just a few seconds. However, upon entering their room, I found it empty. There was no one in the bathroom either. I attempted to enter my room through the door the person had just closed, only to find it locked from the inside. Despite my certainty of witnessing someone enter the bathroom and hearing the door close behind them, there was no trace of anyone having been there. Nothing was amiss in any of the 3 rooms, and there was no evidence of intruders. So this happened a few years ago when I was about 23 or so. A small group of my friends were all interested in the paranormal, and they often went ghost hunting. And more often than not, they came back with nothing. I, on the other hand, didn't really believe in the paranormal, or I thought there was a scientific reason behind all of it. So, one day after we were chilling at a local arcade, my friends wanted to go ghost hunting again. Normally I would have passed and went home to play some video games, but a girl who I had a huge crush on at the time, let's call her A, said she was down and that she bought a thermal camera for it. So, wanting to be around her more, we set off for the night hunt. We drove for about 15 minutes until we reached our destination. We parked in a Subway parking lot. There were about 6 to 8 of us. There was myself, A, her best friend at the time, C, and the rest I didn't know that well. After we parked, it took us about 5 minutes to reach the local church. We had to cut through their parking lot to reach a little wooden gate. From there, it took us to a neighborhood and we had to sneak around and avoid cars, since it was about 2:45 a.m., and a group of teenagers wearing mostly black wouldn't look too good. Anyways, It took us about 10 minutes to reach the woods where our ghost hunt location was at. So we got ready. And by getting ready, I mean I was checking my Facebook to see if any of my other friends were online. Then we started walking. It wasn't too deep in the woods. I could still see homes and such. We were walking on a dirt path, and all I could think about was how much I hate mosquitoes. The walk was boring, to be honest. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. Everyone else was freaking out and saying that they saw this and they saw that. Once we made it through the woods, we came across a baseball park on the other side of the neighborhood. We sat down and chatted for a bit, trying to decide what to do next. Could either go around the woods to get back to our cars, or walk back through the path again, which was the shorter way. We decided to walk back down the path. On our way back, I was near the front, and I made a decision that might have caused what happened next. Somewhere near the middle of the trail, I started to welcome the paranormal and push it to do something. Anything. In my head, I was saying things like, "Go on, do something to me. Show me you're here. Use my body. Anything." I suddenly started to feel numb and lightheaded. I remember starting to get tunnel vision, like I could see the edge of my vision fading into darkness. Then suddenly, I woke up on top of a guy. He was holding my face in his hands, and he's whispering or saying something in a different language to me. Everyone was staring at me and asking if I was okay. I asked them what happened. They said I stopped a few times, that I wouldn't respond when they were asking me questions. They also said I would laugh, but I didn't believe them because I tend to be on the quiet side. After that, everyone was saying that we should just call it a night. They wouldn't want me to drive. The next morning when I woke up, I had some scratches on my arm, but I chalked it up to the tree branches. A's friend C messaged me on Facebook asking if I was okay, and I told her I was. I asked what happened and she told me about it. I asked her who was there and she mentioned a few names, but the only name I could remember was Tim, or Timothy. She said there wasn't anyone there with that name. Half an hour later, she messaged me back with a website link. When I clicked on it, it opened up a missing child's page for a kid named Timothy. He was 8 years old, and he went missing a year or two before we went to the woods. Lately, I've had the urge to go back to those woods. I used to live on a street not far from a very old Church of England church. It was about 80 meters away, and it's even documented in the Domesday Book. One early evening, as I glanced out of my front window, I noticed a streetlight positioned in front of the church entrance. It emitted a warm orange glow and was surrounded by a magnificent oak tree. It created a very picturesque scene. What I witnessed next was anything but ordinary. The streetlight began to move, swaying so much that it collided with the branches of the tree, causing the entire canopy to sway. The pole seemed to tilt dramatically, almost as if it were being pushed or toppled over. I shouted to my mom, convinced that children or vandals were behind it. I watched as the streetlight moved in an arc, nearly touching the ground before returning to its original position. I was certain it was the work of unruly kids, so I rushed and put on my shoes. My mom and I made it to the streetlight. There were no signs of any disturbance or damage. The streetlight stood firmly cemented in the ground, with no indication of any disruption around its base. Despite our attempts to wobble and push it, it remained steadfast and immovable. What did I see? Did I really see the street lamp bend and touch the ground?